welcome to another episode of the Cultivate and Keep podcast, where we talk about what it means to be a man as a Christian. And I'm Corey.
And I'm Jeremy.
And thanks for tuning in. I want to give a shout out to our sole Patreon supporter
the one and only Dan
Deyling, Mr. Dan Deyling, who is with us today, and we'll introduce him in a second. But really quickly, we want to make a very important announcement that this Saturday, December 1st, we are doing 14 episodes in 14 days, an episode a day for 14 days, and we're also doing a special giveaway. So tune in this Saturday.
Corey?
We don't know yet. There's going to be some books, some Kindles.
Okay.
Dude, don't give it away. We haven't figured it out yet.
All right.
Okay.
But it's going to be big, right?
It's going to be big. It's going to be worth it, yeah. I mean, thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of
Take
things.
it easy.
Yeah.
That's our money, Corey. So
That's true. It's ours.
Well, and Dan's too.
And Dan's. So this Saturday, December 1st through the 15th, I think it is, 14 episodes in 14 days. Tell your friends. Get everyone to tune in. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, CastBox, all Google Podcasts. I don't know.
Our website.
Our website also as well. We actually get a lot of listens on our website, surprisingly.
YouTube now.
We're on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Thank you for that. So tune in. But otherwise, Jeremy, you want to introduce our special guest today?
Yeah. So today we have the one and only Dan Deyling. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Mr.
Hey,
Dan.
it's great to be here, gentlemen.
Thanks for coming on. So Dan,
I remember when you guys were just like cute little
I was
puppies.
waiting for that.
Oh, dang it! I knew I was going. He was going to say it. So every week when we've been shouting out to Dan, our Patreon supporter, this is Dan. So everyone gets to know Dan. We love Dan. How long? Well, let's see.
How long?
How old are
I've
you?
known Jeremy since he was born, almost.
That's right.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Corey Haynes since high school? Before
Since high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe like our freshman or sophomore year. Actually, Ryan was the very first person that I met at Foothills. Before I even started, we had like
SATs,
going
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No, not SATs.
It's like the
pre-high school.
the pre-high school exam, like to like place you or something. To like, I don't even know what it's for. You tell me you're the principal.
We don't do that.
Okay, good. But
I don't know that we've ever done that.
we
No,
have.
I remember that.
There was a bunch of us. It was
in
like
eighth grade.
it was like July
No,
or something.
Eighth grade, yeah.
Well, yeah, going into freshman year.
Yeah.
And I sat next to Ryan, and it was
Ryan being
Ryan being your son.
my son, Ryan. That's the one. Okay.
You're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that guy.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
No, amazing to have you here, Dan.
Yeah, it's great to be here, gentlemen. I'm
So-
looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was thinking, so Dan...
Just seeing where all my money's going.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So Dan was the one that we saw in high school. I mean, you probably saw him a lot when you got in trouble. You know, I never was in that seat, but being the principal, he was the one that we had to face when we got in trouble.
That's true. Yeah, because you. Oh yeah. Actually, was Dan the vice principal? when
Yeah,
you were
Dan was the
still
vice
there?
Our
principal.
senior year, you weren't, no?
No, I don't think I was ever principal for you guys. No, it's
No,
vice principal.
You weren't principal for us.
Yeah.
We got off lucky, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
did.
Otherwise, it would have been hell and brimstone.
Yeah,
Right.
you two are a couple of the more problem children at the high school.
Hey, come on, Dan. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Actually, I think our row. You know how you guys don't have
The pews are
anymore.
gone.
The pews are gone.
That's right.
That was that like your first enactment as principal?
One of them, the
Okay.
beautiful green blue pews. Yeah.
But
I
our
miss those.
row, our pew, I guess, was just the worst. I mean, people falling asleep, talking, chewing, eating, phones.
I don't know about that, but
No, definitely what you were at the center of it too.
high
Yeah.
school.
You never did. Actually, you were just the talker.
Yeah, I just talked.
Yeah, and everyone wanted to sit by Jeremy, so it was like 5 people on top of each other next to Jeremy
That's
on
true.
both sides.
It's still that way, fellas. Hasn't changed, you know?
It's true. I could like to keep my distance though. So
Yeah. So back to your high school days, huh? It's sad when you're already thinking back to your high school days. You
I
guys
know.
are what, 26?
ooh,
Ooh,
damn.
thanks.
4,
Dan.
5, 9?
Almost.
Almost 24.
Oh,
But you're
23.
an old married man though, right, Corey?
Yeah, I am. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been married forever. Seems
Yeah.
like forever.
Yeah. 2 years?
In a good way.
1 year,
No.
2 years?
9 months.
9 months. Wow.
Yeah,
It's
just
good.
in
Good.
February.
You still like her?
absolutely.
Good.
I
Excellent.
like her
excellent.
more every day.
Good.
Good
Yeah.
answer.
Right answer. Does she
That's
listen
right.
to the
Yeah,
podcast?
She does.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Shout out to Monique.
I have
What's up,
never seen a more beautiful, kind, warm
we go.
woman than Monique. She's
Really?
the best. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, I lucked out. I still know how it happened.
It's called outpunted your coverage.
Yes, that is what it is. Absolutely. I don't know how I scored. I didn't think I was going to score for a long time, but I scored really early.
I don't
I'm
think
very
we didn't
blessed.
think that either, Corey. Yeah.
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 No, not at all. Well, Dan, we wanted to bring you on because, I mean, you kind of been like a father figure or sort of something like that in our lives, especially as we've grown up. And sort of this whole premise of this podcast is to explore what it means to be a man as a Christian and all the dynamics and all the kind of the fundamentals. And
cool, it's a great thing.
And and you especially have been part of that for us as being sort of like this older figure for us to be a role model and to teach us, to be involved in our lives, to talk with us, give us advice. So we wanted to bring you on and pick your brain about a few things. And we sent you the questions in advance, but really we just want to get to know you, and we just want to unleash your wisdom to the world is what it is.
And you got to get it before Alzheimer's starts, right?
That's right. Because it's a very slippery slope decline pretty soon here. No. But why don't we start? I'd love to go back all the way to kind of your upbringing and your family, and like tell us about, because I think you know this, but like your child rearing days and like your upbringing has a lot to do with who you become.
Absolutely.
So tell us kind of the genesis of Dan Deyling.
Yeah, I heard somebody say once a while back. They said that your past doesn't define you, but it helps explain you. Right, and that's true. I mean, no victim stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I was born a poor black child. No, I wasn't. Can we say that in the podcast?
We can. There's no racism here.
No, I was born in 1961.
Whoa!
When gas was about 20 cents a gallon, 29 cents a gallon, and not that I was driving then, but the third of 8 in a big giant Catholic family. And it was great living on Lakeside back then. There were about 10,000 people back there back then. We'd go out and spend the day. We spend the night in the hills and come back the next day.
This is in Lakeside.
This is
Lakeside, California.
Lakeside, California. Yeah.
Lakeside, San Diego.
Lakeside, San Diego, California.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it was really cool. But I grew up, so all those brothers and sisters. My mom was a little bit insane or Catholic and had 7 kids in the first 9 years of her marriage.
Oh my gosh!
Just we were all 11 months apart, the whole tribe. And it was great to grow up in a big giant family, and everybody should. And those of you who have 1, 2, or 3 sisters and brothers are just totally missing out. All right, just so you know that. But there's also a lot of struggle and trouble in a gigantic Catholic family growing up, and
a lot of explaining later on.
A lot of explaining later on in life, and it did shape me in a lot of ways, mostly the ways I responded to things. And this is all looking back and thinking about it. This isn't when I was growing up I was thinking about this because I was just living, right? I was just a dumb kid. But my family was somewhat harsh and sarcastic and could be a bit evil in that direction. My parents didn't really deal with that very well. And looking back, Dan Deyling, looking at me, cute little me, is I realized I was a somewhat sensitive, somewhat introverted young man, a little boy, and I learned to avoid the family issues by just avoiding the family issues, by a smart kid, and I just stay alone and stay away from I have a crazy brother, not the one you're thinking of, the other one, and the other one's crazy too, but I want to talk about him. Yeah. And he responded just by blowing up all the time. Well, I responded by retreating all the time. And being a smart kid, that works real well. Works real well in school.
It works well to survive.
It works real well to survive. Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to compare myself to any kind of traumatic upbringing. These just, I had good parents. But that's what I learned to do. And now we're great all the way through life. I was great in school, smart kid, and you can be a loner in school and do fabulous, and I did all the way through school, through master's program, the whole thing. Got married, and things change when you get married. Right, Corey?
Yes.
Do you learn more about yourself?
Absolutely.
Yes, because marriage is a big, gigantic trick by God. Not that it's bad, but it's a trick, yeah. Yeah, and the trick is to make you grow up. You guys say, this girl is so beautiful and cute, I got to live with her, and that's what you think. Yeah. And you do, it's true, you do it, and that hopefully it is all true.
I think I heard the hard part of marriage isn't that you have to live with someone else, it's that you have to live with yourself.
Yeah.
Or you have to face yourself. It's not that you have to face someone else, it's you have to face yourself.
Yeah, so that whole, getting married and starting to have kids and that kind of stuff brought out those things in my life that I avoided. And one of the big deals, this is a big deal for me, was avoiding pain and hurt. Because why? Why deal with that stuff? You just sidestep it, let it go by. It's in the past, and life is good, right? Well, that's not really the way it works, I learned over time. And So those are a couple things, that idea of growing up, which was one of my biggest faults. And since then, probably the last 10, 12, 15 years, I've learned to deal with that better. Mm-hmm. And life is so much better when you face hard things and deal with them.
Interesting.
And deal with them. And you learn you can. You learn the hard things that hurt, they just hurt, and that's the way life kind of is. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But then you realize that you can do way more than you think you can when you force yourself to do hard things.
Interesting. I want to go back for a second because when you made a comment about your family and kind of the dynamics, it like gave me a flashback back to a class that you taught us our senior year of high school, and how you were talking about sarcasm.
Yeah.
Could you just explain like what sarcasm means, the root of the word, and sort of how that played out in your family a little bit?
Yeah, sarcasm comes from two Greek words, and I'll probably butcher them horribly, but sarx and chasm.
Yep.
And
go figure.
And sarkos is the Greek word for flesh, and chasm, or whatever the Greek equivalent of chasm is a chasm, a tear or rip. And so sarcasm is literally ripping the flesh. And when you think about it, sarcasm is a somewhat disguised, or maybe not so well disguised, attempt to make fun of something that hurts. Because if it doesn't hurt, it's really not sarcasm, it's just whatever, right? And we're really good at that. And we're really good at that in my family. And in today's culture, that's like what a cool thing if you can really cut into somebody with your words.
And get away with it.
And get away with it because you're just joking, right?
Yeah,
there's a scripture somewhere in Proverbs, and I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but it's something like this. It says, like throwing flaming arrows and spears is a person who does something and then says, I was only joking.
Interesting.
You know, and that's what sarcasm does. Now you can use sarcasm with friends, but you got to be careful. I learned early on as a young adult that there are family groups or people who don't understand sarcasm. I got in some big trouble. I was only joking. No, I was throwing spears and flaming swords, and that kind of stuff, and it really hurt some people.
It only works when it's kind of two ways.
Yeah.
And then you have to deal with the reality of what sarcasm is, and that it hurts.
Yeah. So
that's not a good thing.
So about I bite my tongue a whole bunch more today than I used to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
When I was your age.
A kid. Which we are. I mean, let's be honest. But.
I was so cocky. I remember I was fairly athletic back then. I'm fairly athletic now,
Really?
but I was more fairly athletic. Yeah, thanks, Jeremy.
Okay.
I was more fairly athletic
I'd like to
back
see
then.
This athleticism.
Yeah. And here's an example of the cockiness and the stupidity sometimes of how dumb we are. I went to Pepperdine out of high school and lived on campus, and there was a particular girl there who I got to be friends with, just friends, and she played racquetball. And I'd never played racquetball in my life. And, she one day said, hey, you want to go play racquetball? I said, yeah, sure, why not? And I found out, and she told me that she'd played in tournaments before. And I thought on the way down to where the racquetball courts were at Pepperdine, I remember actively thinking, I'll be careful with this girl. I don't want to hurt her. I don't want to beat her so bad.
If she's playing in tournaments, that should have been a red flag.
Yeah, you think? But I was a dumb 19-year-old, and I really honestly thought, okay, this is very politically incorrect, but she's a girl. How good could she be, right? And she
spanked you.
Okay, I'm going to use one of those cuss words. She kicked my ass.
I'll make our podcast.
I'll never forget the score. 3 games to 15. I've scored 1 point in the third game because she knew how to hit the ball.
That was it.
And I wasn't a klutz. She just knew how to hit the ball. And racquetball, the ball comes off on weird angles because the ball's spinning. I didn't know any of that. And she was laughing the whole time. So those are the kind of experiences that help you grow up.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I love that.
Her name was Darren Ebert.
Darren,
if you're out
Did she
there.
ever? Yeah.
Rematch.
So do we know her by any chance?
No.
Is she plugged in?
Not that I know of. She was, by the way, I'd say, 78, 79. She was the homecoming queen of Lompoc High School. So
Lompoc
High
like
School.
a real hoot.
So there you go. And
there we go. I love
Darren, if you're out there, somebody can look her up, and there you go.
I think we'll have her on next. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll have her on next. That's amazing. Could you? I'm curious about kind of because I know that you also mentioned that you grew up Catholic.
Yeah,
I know this about you. But what is kind of your journey to finding Christ?
Yeah,
and that whole kind of muddy thing that everyone goes through.
Yeah, the Catholic faith, Catholic Church believes you're born into the faith. You're baptized and born into the faith. So once you're baptized, you're part of the faith. That's just the way it works. And it's a different way of looking at things, but that's fine. You can go that direction. And then when you become 13, you go through what they call the sacrament of confirmation, where you confirm your baptism. You confirm, yep, I'm part of the faith. And so I grew up Catholic, going to church all the time. Unfortunately, the church I grew up in didn't explain things real well, and the liturgical Catholic service can get kind of boring, and it's easy to lose it when you're a kid and just not be interested. Yeah. So it's pretty boring. I so much more appreciate going to the Catholic Mass today than I did when I was a kid, because it is really a deep service, and I appreciate it. But so I did my confirmation when I was 13, and I remember thinking, I know God is good. I want to follow him, but there was just not much impetus. Nobody really taught me to why. And so, it's just so much more fun to do wrong things. At least that was the perspective back then, right?
Especially for a boy.
Yeah.
You were 13.
I was 13. So I drifted kind of, I was a sort of good Catholic boy. I went to Catholic high school. And in the middle of that, I got involved for a couple of years, about a year, at an insane, crazy Pentecostal church in Lakeside. Pentecostal cult in Lakeside. My brother Jim dragged me to it, kind of. And that gave me a little different aspect. There's some different stuff out there. Then I went to college. And spent a year or two in college just being a knucklehead. And got involved with a girl down here. And the reason I tell you that is because when we broke up a year and a half later or something, that was the first time I ever really felt pain in my life, and realized that I needed God, and ended up going to Calvary Chapel in San Diego and got really, 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 really saved, is the way I put it. And from that point on, the journey has been learning to follow Jesus.
And how old were you when you really, really, really got saved?
20, yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I really appreciate my Catholic upbringing for teaching me all sorts of good things. I was shocked at how much I knew of the Bible without ever opening it personally, because I've been to church, to Mass so many times throughout the years. Yeah. So that's cool.
So from that point, how did your walk evolve? And I also want to know, what point did you get involved with Foothills and becoming one of the children's pastor? Like, explain kind of how it all evolved and changed.
Yeah, I actually got involved with Mark Hoffman before I was saved, because he married my sister.
That's
Linda,
right.
my sister Linda, and who's 11 months older than me.
That's crazy.
We could have guessed that from prior knowledge.
Yes, and he took me to the Calvary Chapel, and that's where I decided to really follow Jesus. And so then I started hanging around with him and got involved with pre-Foothills stuff. For a few months, we drove all the way up to Anaheim to go. A few months, probably a year, to go to the vineyard up in Anaheim, and that opened me up to all new sorts of things about how God moves. And then when Foothills,
what is that? What was the vineyard in Anaheim?
That's right. I'm talking to kids. The vineyard in Anaheim.
I'm like, wait a second.
Was a church run by a dead man named John Wimber, dead white man, who God used mightily to do some significant moves of the Holy Spirit throughout the United States and Europe.
Wow. And
there still is, a denomination called the Vineyard. And
he created his own denomination. He was that big.
God moved on him, and yeah, I'm sure there's more to it than that, but that's the short person's version. Wow. But I met the Holy Spirit really, really, really for the first time there, and saw God really truly heal people, and really learned a lot of cool things. And out of that, Mark Hoffman started his church, and Dave Hoffman started his church, and you know the story from there. Eventually, they became one church, and so forever and ever, I've been involved in Foothills. And how to get involved with kids.
Yeah, this should be a good story.
Yeah,
right?
it was. I had no interest in working with kids. And a friend of mine signed himself up to help out in Sunday school with the 1st to 5th grade boys. There were like 6 of them, and signed me up too. And then came and told me.
Like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, no, and I said to him, I'll never forget what I said. I looked at him, I thought, I said, why in the hell would I want to do that? Because literally, there was nothing. This was back when I still didn't know how to say no. You wanted to make everybody happy, and so I decided, okay, fine, I'll do this stupid thing, and found out pretty quick within a few weeks that I actually liked these kids, and they actually liked me, and it was fun, and that's how I got started. Maybe a year later, 2 years, 3 years later, I don't know. Dave Hoffman, who was running the children's department, now put that in your mind. But,
oh my gosh, I was just thinking, I would pay to be there when that happened. But he's got to take me back just so I can see.
So that was what, 25 years
At
ago?
least, yeah. It was probably 90, right around 90, maybe 91, right around there. And Dave said in the meeting, it's getting too busy for me to do kids stuff. And I thought to myself, I said, I like kids. They like me. So I said, I'll take it over. And that was about and Dave said, okay. And and that's the beginning of the story. So then I learned how to run a children's department.
And you did it for 15, 20 years?
About over 20 years.
Yeah.
Over 20 years. Yeah, and then I moved up to the high school as assistant principal.
Were there ever any moments where you're like, I can't do this anymore?
Yeah, every day.
Okay.
I didn't know what I was doing. I was
every day. I was thinking like maybe once in a while, every day.
I was some dumb kid, right? Said, what do I do now? I didn't realize that parents are important. Back then, it's just stupid parents are my way. I'm having fun with these kids, right?
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things you go in with and you learn real quick, and they're good life experience things. It's been kind of funny watching my successor, David LeBon, learn that stuff.
What a bum.
Who's that David guy? What the? It's Jeremy's brother for the podcast listeners out there. That's amazing.
But that's kind of the story, and now I love working with high school kids.
Yeah, so what you're doing now, you think a better fit for you? Do you like that more?
It's certainly a better fit now for me. 20 years ago, probably not. I probably would have been too cocky and didn't know enough about life.
Like your son, Ryan, now.
Silence, deadly silence.
Good dad.
I don't think he listens, so.
But he might.
We can say whatever
now
we
he
want.
can listen. We're going to say your dad called you a bum on podcast.
No, Jeremy called him a bum and I was just silent.
That's right.
You should have seen his nonverbal, guys.
Yeah.
So I love working with high school kids now, being a principal in an administrative role. My real joy in life is teaching. But when the principalship opened up, I didn't necessarily want to do it, And I remember talking to Dave Hoffman about it. But it kind of came, there's points in life when something needs to happen, and it was open, and I was available, and I'm a good guy, generally speaking, and kind of the idea if one man can do it, another man can do it.
Yeah.
So I stepped in and started doing it, and it's been 3 years now, and hasn't been perfect, but I'm getting better.
Yeah. What's been the hardest part for you?
Parents.
Parents.
Yeah.
So same with kids ministry and the high school.
We at
so not the kids, but that's interesting though because
no, the kids are kids. They're dorks. They're
right.
gonna do stupid things. They expect them to do stupid things. They're gonna be idiots, and they're gonna actually surprise you at times.
Yeah.
They're just kids. They're just flowers growing, and they're still growing. So you can't expect perfection from them, but their parents do. No, we have a mission and an agenda at Foothills Christian High School. What we want to do. And parents have their agendas also, and kids have their agendas. Yeah. My job is to say, this is our agenda. And frankly, if you don't want to fit in our agenda, then you don't belong here. Mm-hmm. But that causes trouble and struggles and trials and troubles sometimes.
Yeah. How do you handle that? Like, what's the? I know there's no like perfect formula for success or whatever, but I'm just trying to get an idea of like when you have like a very clear obstacle in your ability to do your job, or even like in a ministry function, how do you work around that?
Yeah, there's some basic principles. One of them is people are created in the image of God, and no matter how dumb they're doing things, how dumb I'm doing things, they deserve respect and honor. So how do you deal with it? I might yell in my room. I might grab another teacher and go out and say, I can't believe, you got to vent sometimes maybe, but when you're with somebody, you deal with them respectfully and honorably, and you put forth your points, and you listen to their points honorably and respectfully, and listen to them, really listen to them. And sometimes if you cannot come to an agreement, then you have to separate. But other than that, you do the best you can to explain things honorably and respectfully, and expect the same from them.
Yeah. So in other words, be human, be kind.
Yeah, and be just, really and truly.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest things is you can't tell people everything. And so they would say, well, yeah, when that happened with that kid, you did this. Well, they don't know what happened with that kid.
Right.
And you just say, I can't tell you what happened with that kid.
I feel like that's a big thing. I mean, even I'm sure you've experienced the same thing, but there's always like this fairness kind of thing that goes on with kids and with adults, where it's always like, why are you treating me this way when someone else wasn't given the same justice or whatever it was? And the reality is you don't know, but also like it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's just about you in this circumstance, and maybe I didn't handle it properly before, but now I'm trying to handle it properly now.
Yeah, and also it's just like parenting. It really is that you have different kids and your kids are different, and you'll treat one kid one way and another kid a different way because they're different kids, and you got to treat them differently.
Right.
It's not about fairness. It's about justice, and it's about what helps you grow.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You know, one kid you might have put in the dungeon and hang him by his thumbs for him to grow, and the other kid,
his thumbs.
and the other kid, you say please stop, and they do, and it's just two different kids.
Yeah, me and Jeremy basically, right? Hang Jeremy by his thumbs.
I could guess. So Lane was the good one. And
I'll just simply say this: that of my 3 kids, Ryan is the most psychologically well-adjusted.
What is that?
Well
he can
put,
explain
Dan.
things the best about his childhood. In other words.
Well put.
Ryan is a good kid in this area. He could look at things and say, that's probably not the best way to go. Lane was learning.
see that.
Lane was learning, and Derek didn't care about that.
Interesting. Well, I mean, obviously, parenthood was going to be a question on our mind.
Yeah.
But since we're on it, why don't we just jump into it? I mean,
Sure.
Becoming a father, taking on that role. I mean, having kids. Like, that's a whole.
Yeah,
like,
it's a scary thing. You know,
can of worms.
one thing I had good parents again, but my parents never, and I maybe I'm blind, but never sat down with me and said, "Hey, this is coming up in your life. Think about these things." I mean, I did everything on my own in terms of college, in terms of girls, in terms of all that stuff. And so part of that was me, right? I was an introvert. I am an introvert. I'm a person who's smart and figure I can do it on my own. So I didn't seek out people,
Right.
which is dumb. But my dad also didn't seek me out in terms of that. And I love my dad, and my dad's good and all that kind of stuff, but I wish he'd done better in that area. So in terms of parenting, my dad raised 7 kids, dang it. He had a little bit of wisdom.
Yeah.
I wish you could, you can't see me rolling my eyes here. But I wish they'd sat down and talked to me about it. So I had my first kid a little late. I think I was 29 when I had Lane. And I remember coming back home holding this, 20-hour-old kid or whatever it was in my hand and looking at her and really thinking, no matter what I do, my life is going to heavily impact this kid. And that's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And right then and there, that forced me to grow up a little bit and think, okay, I got to start thinking about how to do stuff more. And that was a big deal. So one thing kids did is they helped me to grow up and forced me to grow up. And I was fortunate. Before we had kids, I took a parenting class through Foothills Christian Church and the people teaching. It was a great class. And I said, well, I don't know any better. Nobody's taught me any better. But I'm going to put these principles into practice and see what happens. And I did, and they were basically good, godly principles overall, and good things happen.
Wow.
So.
And then you had 2 more, and then you raised all 3 of them.
None of which were planned, by the way. They're all surprises.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, so did you ever? Did you plan on having kids at some point, or was it just kind of?
No.
Really?
We didn't plan
Really?
on not having kids, but it wasn't like we need kids at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
And
Well, Corey's pretty accustomed to that, so
That's story of my life.
Yeah.
I was an accident.
if you didn't know, world, he was an accident.
I was the accident surprise of all surprises.
Oh.
But, I mean-
I don't know if you know that much, but
no.
my dad was 53 and my mom was 42 when they had me. They had both been married a few times before, and they really never even thought it was possible to have another kid. And so all my siblings the closest one is 17 years older than me, and then the oldest one is 23 years older than me, so double my age now. And so it was.
This is why it's important to take biology in high school.
Yeah, I know. Now it blows my mind. Really, I'm like I've never understood, but now I have so much. I'm like, oh, how did he? I don't know. Mm-hmm. So I consider myself a miracle in a lot of ways now, and an accident still, but yeah. Anyways, I don't know how we got on that, but
because I made a
Surprises.
little comment. My bad.
No, I think it's kind of fun to we didn't find out the gender of our children because I think it's kind of fun to have surprises. I think that
not until
until
it physically came.
Oh, it's a boy. What do you know?
That is fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think it takes some of the fun away. And maybe this is an old guy talking. All the nonsense today. Everybody, gender reveal.
The balloons.
Oh,
and the
Lordy,
box.
Lord help me. I better shut up.
Just stop there. Just yeah.
Yeah. But hey, raising kids is good. Again, raising kids, just like marriage, is a trick from God. It's a job that it's a trick from God to help you grow up, force you to grow up too.
Yeah.
So everybody should have 3 kids, maybe 4, and maybe 5.
Yeah.
Because it forced you to grow up.
Huh.
I have a question. So what is it like now, still being a father, but your kids are independent and moved out? So what is your role now, and what's that like?
It's way better.
As I asked that question, his whole face lit up like, freedom.
Yeah, kind of. Freedom. It's really good having kids who despite the dumb things you do as a parent, but if you love them and discipline them and treat them well and let them go when you should let them go and not be that crazy helicopter parent, and let life teach them and let God teach them to see them as functioning adults, more or less, as much as a 25-year-old can be a functioning adult. It's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah, exactly. It's so cool. I mean, I can have great fun with my kids now and treat them as adults. So they're more peers with a special relationship. So it's really cool. I'm really glad I had 3 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wanted to, I just remembered, I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned how, now I'm losing it. Oh my gosh. Oh, you said that when you were growing up, your dad didn't sit you down and tell you about things that you should look out for. And I think that's a good point, because I think I've had a sort of similar experience, and I know that a lot of other people have, especially men. But like, how important is it really to? Well, I just feel like there's a lot of parents out there who feel like as long as I teach them the rules and I be a good example, that my kids will figure it out on their own.
That's such nonsense.
Why?
Because your kids don't like your rules, right? So teach them the rules, show them, model them the rules, truly follow your own rules, and give them a real good reason why these are the rules. If you, as a parent, if you can't say this rule is important and here's why, then throw the dang rule out.
Yeah.
I mean, less rules, more freedom. But you gotta have rules, right? Good boundaries, but explain the rules. Sit down with your kids and say, here's why. And again, if you can't, then throw that rule out.
Yeah.
And if you can't figure it out, then why are you trying to teach it to your kids?
Yeah.
The worst response to hear as a little kid was, because I said
so.
It's
Now I would say that if you've asked me 15 times the same thing, then want to punch me in the throat, but I won't, so I'll say, because I said so.
Which you probably have.
But that's well after the fact. Have a good reason to have rules. Have a few real broad rules. Don't hit your brother. Be respectful. That covers a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah. It pretty much covers all problems for children.
Don't hit your brother. That's funny.
But I think a good point there is, like, actually have those conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, I can think of a few conversations, like hair is coming in places that you probably never expected they would, or you're going to start feeling things for people and a certain species that you never thought you would. You're going to grow up and be an adult and be independent one day. It's not okay to do or say certain things after a certain point.
Yeah.
I mean, what are some of the big things that you think are important?
Well, some of the big things I think are important. Teach them how to respect other people. Teach them, like I said earlier, teach them really that everybody you see is created by God, and God's image reflects God. So think about that as God's son or God's daughter you're talking to right now. And if their dad, God, was standing behind them, what would you be saying to that kid, that kid, right, or that person?
Yeah.
To treat them that way, act that way, act towards them that way, treat them that way, and major in the majors and minor in the minors. And I don't care if my kid has a dirty room, but I care if his heart's dirty inside because he's watching pornography, right? I'm way more concerned that my kids treat people with respect and know the 10 Commandments in order, or whatever, that they, put the fork on the right side of the plate.
Right. The principle, not the rule.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a valuable point.
Be good, be kind, be fair. Understand that people aren't like you, and it's not all about you. And life will teach you that. And my job as a dad is when life teaches you that and you get hurt, to help you learn why, and learn what works and what doesn't, in all areas, spiritually, physically, relationally. Yeah, that's my job.
Yeah, that's great stuff.
Yeah.
I have a question. It's not in our notes, but you mentioned pornography, and I know that I don't know if you still do, but you used to put on that little
I stopped.
clinic. You stop. That's not what I was.
Oh, okay.
That's funny. But you had that workshop that you do, and you educate, and then you scare the crap out of kids, and with stats, and then you try to help people. So I want to know what sparked you like putting that together, and kind of, I guess, what are your overall thoughts, I guess?
Yeah, what sparked me putting that together is a couple of things. And one was, again, the real belief that girls are daughters of the King of Heaven, right? Even girls in pornography. They're daughters of the King of Heaven. And I have no right as a man to treat a daughter of the King of Heaven as anything other than the daughter of the King of Heaven, right? And I saw how much damage pornography causes in families and relationships, and how a guy will think of a woman, or, just great damage. And then when you say stats that scare the crap out of them, that's just trying to show them, hey, what you're doing here alone in the darkness is actually causing great damage to you and to your future spouse and kids. And when I learned that through study, and I forget why I started studying, maybe because I started teaching that class in high school, so I really got into it.
Someone asked you to, or just
somebody asked me to teach the class?
Got it. Okay.
And part of that class was sexual brokenness. And part of that, of course, is pornography. And when I began to learn how really damaging pornography is, and how we don't hear about it anywhere, in our culture, or even in church pulpits, or really anywhere, we don't hear about it. Our culture, pushes you on into the ridiculous areas. That I decided, dang it, we need to talk about this. And so I started telling kids, so we have a porn week in my class, and it's the quietest week of the whole semester.
Yeah, I remember that.
But it's a very, very valuable stuff, and our kids need to realize that, both genders need to realize that the other one is precious and not to be used and abused.
Yeah. Well, for me, that was like when I finally broke free from porn.
Cool.
My senior year, because you came to. So I heard that class, the workshop at Future Quest, and then I heard it. I'm not sure if it was during school yet, but I remember for our senior small group in September. So like right when senior year started, we invited you to come to our group, and you gave your classic 40-minute porn talk. And at the very end, I remember you looked at all of us and you said, I guarantee you guys to try to stop for 30 days, and I guarantee you can't do it. And you said it with like such assurance that I was like, screw this old man.
Cool.
I'm doing it. It's like I felt
exactly the person I'm talking to.
Like competitive and like I'm gonna do this, and so it worked, and it was super hard. But I remember like that is what sparked it for me. Was I think just being almost like afraid. Well, I don't want to say afraid, but I think just fearing God. Yeah. That's kind of what your talk really does. Is encourages you to like understand what's really happening, to have compassion for the girls, and then to fear God. And so, I felt compelled to stop, and I did. So, I know for me that was like really impactful. And so I think we'll probably do an episode on porn, and maybe it'll be on again. But
yeah, we will.
Yeah, we'll dive into that more. But
yeah,
cool.
that was a huge thing for me too. I think I don't know if I went through was it like a class or like a course, or I must have missed it.
You were in my class.
Yeah. Did you do it as the class? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, then, okay. So I wasn't, like, particularly struggling with it, but I think that gave me, like, a new insight into why it was just so wrong and why it was so... Because I think I always came at it as, like, don't do it, it's bad, be a good boy, like, just stay away and follow the rules.
Yeah, and those rules... that was my 13-year-old person, right? I talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
That I wanted to do what was right, but it was just too much fun not to.
Yeah. And so when you put it in perspective of it hurts you, it hurts yourself, it hurts your future relationship, it hurts your future like satisfaction with your partner.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is, like I said, it's a fear of God, but I mean, there a little bit, it is like kind of scary, and you do be afraid of like, I want the best for me and for my future wife, and therefore like this is like a very bad thing. It's a very real threat to those things.
Yeah.
It's not kind of like this passive. I think a lot of people think, well, what harm does it do to me or someone else?
They need to look at the brain studies on how it affects the brain. They'll find out what harm it does. Yeah.
Because it's a real addiction.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for sure. I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, let's jump to the next question. That's cool.
Yeah.
Unless you.
We were just talking offline about it, but I want to talk a little about fellowship.
Yeah.
And
that Christian word. What's fellowship?
I know. It's
hanging around with other people.
Yeah. But could you explain just, I mean, I feel like it's a more recent kind of development with you. I mean, not recent in the sense of
in a sense. In my life, like I told you guys earlier, I'm an introvert. I you know, I really learned that probably 10 years ago. It's so stupid. You think I should learn these things when I'm 20. Yeah. But really, and I realized that I'm a fairly sensitive guy, and tears. And that's okay, right? But what that had done to me is it put me at arm's distance from people. I chose to keep people at arm's distance because people are messy. People hurt, right? And screw them. I don't want to get hurt, right? But through some reading, of course, as you guys know, the dissolution of my marriage, through that I realized that I need people, right? And I told you guys earlier that I had I didn't tell you earlier. So I got together with two of my friends, Gary and John, and said, let's start meeting. And so we started meeting every week. We have been for like 5 years. But I need...
Well, hold on, back up. You said that so casually. But so explain what you guys do. You meet pretty consistently.
Yeah,
right?
Tuesday afternoons at 4:30 we meet, and we do all sorts of things. We've gone through books. We've gone through voting stuff last week. We go out and have great dinners in places. We've taken our wives out to... It's just I guess fellowships, just hanging and learning how to live with somebody else, other people, intentionally, as opposed to just kind of seeing, hi, how you doing? And, see anybody for another week or month or whatever. And that's really, really important. And through that, and especially through a book I've read several times now and gone through with people several times, called The DNA of Relationships by
I've heard of that.
by Smalley, Gary Smalley, I think. Yeah. And it's just a fabulous book that taught me how to live with people properly, and how to love people properly, and how to deal with hard things properly. And then the book Boundaries by Townsend, I forget, Henry Townsend, I think, how to be able to say, you can't come any close because you're a hurtful person, and be okay with that, and then be able to deal with hard things because I got people who are support with me now, and I can trust people better, and all those things led me to realize that I needed people. And then I read a book called, terrible title, called Ministry in the Image of God. Who would want to read that book? And my daughter recommended it to me, and she's smart, so I said, okay, I'll read that book. Terrible title. And it was a book that talked about how God is a trinity. It's three real persons, real distinct persons in a constant relationship that is God. And then he stamped us in that image, right? And so that's part of me too. I'm designed and made for relationships. And how's that going to look? I don't know. We can figure that one out. But for me to say, I don't need people, I'm smart, I can figure it out on my own, is just cutting my legs off. I'm not designed for that. And that has brought a lot of depth and joy and life to me over the last, just to say, 10 years that just wasn't there before. And it's so cool. And I'll hang around with guys like you and not go, I don't do that stupid thing. I'd rather go and play Battlefield on the computer where I'm talking to anybody.
Thank you for sacrificing your Thursday night for that.
Well, that's so funny because I feel like even in this experience together, I'm definitely an introvert, and even like doing this podcast has been almost like therapeutic for me a little bit because it's a chance to just you can't do small talk because small talk is boring. Yeah. But you have to go in depth because you're sitting down with someone and you talk for, an hour or so. But it's like it brings me a lot of life because I hate small talk. And as an introvert, I'm like, I don't want to ever be surface level. I only want my certain people, and then I want to just dive into the good stuff with them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that's really important because a lot of guys maybe don't have that, and they don't have that place where they can go 4:30 on Tuesday nights, and they can just go and have conversation and quote unquote fellowship, whichever Christianese kind of word you want to use for it. But it's really impacted your life a lot.
Yeah, it's I can live without it, right?
Yeah,
and I can look good without it and do well without it, and figure things out without it. But I miss the depth of life that God designed me for.
So what has made that stick? 'Cause for me, I think I've tried that a few times. Like, hey, bro, let's get together every other week, whatever, and it never sticks. So for you, what makes it
You don't pick idiots.
Sorry, Corey. You're cut, man.
Dang it, am I an idiot?
No. You
Well, I mean, 5 years is a
no,
significant
like
amount of
anything,
time.
like anything else. You decide what's important, and you do that thing. And it's important or it's not. It's like going to church on Sunday. I'm going to go to bloody church on Sunday, and I don't want to often, but I don't live by my wants, sort of. I those are important things. I'm gonna, one thing. Home fellowships, home groups, are interesting, and they're not necessarily fun because they're full of people you don't necessarily want to hang with often. But I decided a long time ago I'm going to go to this stupid home group because I was made for relationships, and so almost every time I don't want to go. There's some people there I love, but almost every time I don't want to go, but I'm going to go anyways because it's important, whether I feel like it's important or not. So you choose these things and say some things are important. I'm going to do them no matter what, and that's one of the things. And pick good people.
Yeah.
Right. That's it.
astounded.
What's important?
I know. I'm astounded at like the conviction that you have in like, because I feel like I'm a little bit that way where I'm like, I'm just going to go do this thing and like, that's it. But I mean, even then, like there are certain things that I don't want to do or people I don't want to be around. And I'm like, do I really have to go tonight or do I really have to do this thing? And it's hard. I mean, is that a conviction or a discipline that you feel like you developed?
Exactly. Developed. Are you going to live on your feelings or live on your principles? And I think our culture, and sorry, gentlemen, but our millennial culture lives on their feelings. And that's a horrible way to live. I mean, it feels good every now and then, but there's no life there. You're going to do stupid things. You're not going to focus on important things. Important things are hard, and so you don't want to do them. But there's a reason they're hard, because they bring good results. And so pick those important things. If you're gonna have let's just talk about relationships. You're gonna have a girlfriend, then pick a good girl first, and then really focus on making it work.
Yeah.
If you're not going to focus on making it work, don't mess with that girl's heart and screw her up, right? Or your own heart and screw her up. Don't do it.
Yeah. Well, this is a perfect segue to another point we want to touch on, which, okay, again, back to one of your classes in high school. I'm pretty sure it was all the same class.
Yeah.
Which is like the most fantastic class.
Say that again.
The most fantastic class. That just satisfies your ego. But it always stuck with me, and I love it because it's like kind of a tongue twister. But you say, become the person you're looking for is looking for.
Yeah.
Can you break that down on the paper?
Yeah, I didn't make that up. I stole that from Andy Stanley.
Good. All great things are stolen.
Yeah. Originality is the art of concealing your sources. Okay. I stole that from Andy Stanley, a preacher on the East Coast, and basically Disney lies. Our culture is a stupid culture. If you take your relationship cues from your ridiculous rap music or country music,
yes,
or the movies or whatever, you're just totally on the wrong path. Again, Disney lies. If I want to find a person, let's just talk relationships, a person to live with. Because if you're not interested in finding the person to live with, then don't go out with somebody because you're just going to hurt them. There's a lot you go there, but I don't want to go there. It's not about. There's nobody who's going to make me complete. There's nobody who's going to fix me. I have flaws. I'm broken in areas. I need to grow in areas. I have strengths in areas, but there's nobody out there that I can say, oh, I'm going to be stupid me, and that person will cover me. I mean, I can do that, but that does not lead to good relationships, right? We all have a dream person, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully,
I have her.
hopefully this person you're married. Yeah. and if I want that dream person, then this is what that quote means: become the person that dream person is looking for. Right? Make yourself into that good person so that good person will say, hey, I want a person just like that guy, which is you.
Yeah.
Right? Don't expect them to come and fix you. Because you don't live. There's no happily ever after.
Yeah.
There's you get married to a good person and you grow and that person grows and you grow together and you live life together and it's good and it's hard and it's fun and it's good and it's hard and it's fun. And that's the way life is.
Yeah.
Nobody's there to fix me. There's nobody there who's going to complete me. That whole soulmate thing is ridiculous nonsense. Did I say Disney lies? Yes, just so you know.
We got it. I think it's a little clear.
There's a few times in there we can go back. But I love that because like the idea of the one or the soulmate.
Yeah, there is no one out there for you.
Yeah, but it's so ingrained.
Until you marry a person, then that's the one.
Then that's the
and
one.
dang it, learn how to live with that one well.
Yeah. But I love that saying because it's almost like become the one for someone else in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
But it puts the responsibility on you instead of the other person. Like you said, instead of me thinking I'm going to go out and find the perfect fit for me, it's instead I'm going to grow up and become a great fit for someone else.
Absolutely.
It's never going to be the perfect fit, but becoming the person that the person you're looking for is looking for puts all of the ownership on you to deal with yourself. And then, then it's not about you fix me and you make me happy, but it's I want to make you happy and I can help you grow up in a lot of ways.
Yeah, part of it is, be a man. Dang it, grow up. Before you get somebody else tangled with you.
Okay, wait. Jeremy and I have been looking for like a tagline or something. Be a man, dang it. I love it. That's just
grow up.
No, that's so great.
Yeah, and just an aside with relationships. Relationships are adult things. And don't mess with adult things until you're an adult.
Fire.
Man, we got a lot of zingers in here. Okay, so just a slight tangent, but what is your stance on dating relationships as pertaining to young men?
He's laughing.
As pertaining to young men, well, again,
don't be an idiot.
Yeah. Again, what I just said is don't mess with adult things until you're an adult. So I think if you're 14, you're not ready.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry, all those moms out there who are dreaming. Never mind. I'll be good. Yeah. Heart stuff. Heart HEART stuff is real serious, and God designed us to bond, to tie hearts together, and don't start that process until you're ready to start that process, and you're just not until you're grown up a bit. So, I would say, I'm just making up numbers, but 90% of high school dating is stupid.
Yeah.
And I'm just making up that 90%, but most people are not ready for any kind of real relationship in high school. So don't do it. Yeah. Grow up, dang, have fun, live with your buddies and friends and have fun, and don't be an idiot and don't get involved with them. I mean, girls are complicated enough. Don't get involved with them when you don't even know who you are yet, right?
Yeah.
And then when you begin to figure out who you are a little bit, and you begin to become the person you're looking for a little bit, then be real serious and careful, because the heart of a daughter of God is a tender thing, and it is not something you should screw with.
Yeah. And
treat that person real careful, and learn from other people, not the knuckleheads that are your same age. Every person should have some old couple to go to and say, old like is over 30, okay, to say, how do I do this, right? Yeah. And there's old people that, there's some 50-year-old people, those really, really old people, couples, who would just love to talk to you, and they have so much wisdom, and sometimes you got to work it out of them, there's some, right? They have so much wisdom in this area, and whoever talks to them about this, nobody. Well, start encouraging people to do that.
Okay, so I have a question for you. So I have three kind of themes in my life right now, three questions I'm trying to answer. One is, what are the habits that I need to build in order to become the person that I want to be? And that's a story for another time. Number two is, how do I be a better spiritual leader to Monique? And number three is, how do I become a full-time entrepreneur, which is another story. But specifically, how do I become a better spiritual leader for my spouse? What are your thoughts on that?
None of this is a mystery. All right. Again, if it's based on how do I feel like I'm going to be a better spiritual leader, you're going to lose. How do you be a better spiritual leader? You just do it. Yeah. You say, honey, let's go pray. And then you go do it. And it's awkward and weird and stupid, and you don't know what to say the first few times. But then you begin to get better at it. Honey, let's read the Bible together. You just do it. You set those appointments and do them, right? Honey, let's go to church this weekend. You don't skip church. You don't skip home group. You just do the things that are right, and you just continue to do them. And you plan. If you have to plan them, you plan them. Church is once a week on Sunday. It's at the same time. Plan your life to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because that's what me and Jeremy are talking about. It's like the more that we kind of explore it, and the more that we ask ourselves, the more we realize that we just have to lead by doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Lead by example.
Yep.
And just, it's sort of like, I'm really opposed to the like whole man up kind of cliche, but in a lot of ways you just have to man up and do it.
Yeah.
And that's a realization that's becoming more and more real to me.
And I tell you, girls, this could get you in trouble, but girls are, in trouble, but girls are designed by God to follow some good guys.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you're a good man and you're doing these things, the girl will follow you. Stop. I mean, let's be honest. Girls are hope no girls listening are generally smarter than us. They're generally they're generally more up on the whole relationship thing. They see bigger pictures than us. All their brain works together, and they see things better than us. And so they're a little bit intimidating, right? So they can often do a relationship job better than we can. But so what? Our job is to lead. Learn how to do it and do it.
Yeah.
Well,
that's so funny because, and maybe it's just because of the nature of girls and women that they're more outspoken and encouraging. But I've had like 10 times more girls come up to me and like, hey, I love the podcast, listen to your episode, than guys. Which is like, am I reaching the right people or am I like marketing to the wrong? I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but
you need free beer for the guys, I guess, right?
Yeah. That should be our giveaway. It's just like a 6-pack of beer or something. No, just kidding with you. But that's great insight. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, primarily I think most things when we say, how do we do this? Is just do it. Just start. Ask people, wise people.
Dude, I know the one-liners tonight.
Yeah,
I know.
Ask wise people, then do what they tell you.
Yeah,
on a regular basis, and you'll be in good shape. Whatever area, not just spiritual, but entrepreneurship or how to wash your car. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Ask somebody who knows how to do it, then do what they say.
Yeah, learn by doing.
Parenting.
Well, I think we're starting to wrap up here, but I wanted to get your thoughts also on the millennial kind of not millennial. Actually, I want to X that out.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Just the next generation of Christian men, kind of all lumped.
Yeah.
What's your advice?
Yeah,
what's your perceptions? What are people struggling with right now? What do people need to hear?
Yeah, I think guys, younger guys, need to hear a real compassion. You talked about the man up cliche, but a real compassionate. Learn how to be a man. And that doesn't mean you drink more beer and you watch more pornography. No, learn how to be a man. You are, like I've said this so many times already, right? You're a son of the King of Heaven, dang it, right? You really are. It's not just a nice idea. You really are. What does it mean to be a son of God? Learn what that means, right? Do some biblical studies. Learn from older guys. Learn what that means to be a son of God. What does a son of God do? What's he like? How does he act? And then do it, right? Act like that. Fight the battles you need to fight. We all know the battles we need to fight. Nobody has to tell us, right? There's interior battles we have to fight. We're doing nothing until we slay the dragons that are tough. And we live in a culture at this time. The American culture is extremely permissive in a lot of areas, and just pick on the sexual one because it's easy. Well, every guy's got to fight that battle. It doesn't just go away. Fight the battle, and then get up the next morning and fight it again, and fight it again. Whatever they are, whatever your particular battles are, become the man who knows how to fight battles because you're in a war. You are born in a world at war.
Yeah.
And you can't run away from it. If you do, you've already lost. And you can't. I mean, it's there. So learn to be a man of fight in a good sense. Our culture tends to wimpify men and make girls into super women, whatever. I don't know how you want to say it. Well, say screw you to the culture. Stand up and be a man and fight the right battles. And don't worry about toxic masculinity. There are idiots out there. Just don't be one of them.
Yeah.
Right? Get into good relationships with other guys. Honorable, strong, good relationships. We do need each other. Don't bow down to our culture. Don't give up. Don't be, the MGTOW, men going their own ways. Don't go to that nonsense either. Fit where you fit and learn to live there and be a man.
And do it.
And do it.
And do it.
And do it. If you don't know how to do it, ask somebody who does and do what they tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some good men out there.
Kind of along with that, what would you tell your 23-year-old self?
What I just said. What did I tell my 23-year-old self? Do I tell Dan Deyling when he was 23 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah. Get in the battle. Don't worry about getting hurt. Don't worry about making people happy. Do what is right. You'll make people happy and you'll make people mad, but do what is right every time you can. Be real quick to say I'm sorry because you're going to screw up often. Be quick to forgive people because they're going to hurt you. That's okay. That's just life. They're idiots too, and it's okay. But get in the battle. Get in the heat. Don't stand on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And when you say, well, what battle? Each of us know inside what battle. And so get in those battles and fight them with honor and respect, and know that you're fighting spiritual powers more than the people around you. Treat them with honor and respect. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me think too, like when every man has a battle, and again, there's a lot of, like, I try to avoid making these huge general kind of statements and lumping people together, but I feel like when a man does struggle with something, we're not really taught how to fight in a lot of ways. We're not really taught to push back against, and like, be a man, be strong, like take courage, like use the strength of the Lord, and like don't rely on other people. And so I feel like for a lot of men, there's sort of been like this oppression on like whatever your fight is, like that's just your struggle, and you carry that wound proud, and it's kind of like your chip on your shoulder.
Carry that wound proud is a kind of lame saying.
Yeah, like but I mean, it's almost like it's romanticized in a way of like, my past was X, Y, and Z, and I went through this, and no one can tell me this because I did that, and and you don't have a right to tell me this because whoever wasn't there. But it really, I mean, I just wanted to say, like, I appreciate that point of fight and do something about it and face it head on, because it is scary, and you do have to do battle with a lot of those things.
Yeah, I've said to a lot of people actually that you're unique, you're special, you're right. God made you special. That's true. and I'm not. You're laughing. But it's true. No, you are. You really are. You're unique. God made you special. But your experiences are not special.
Yeah.
Many, many, many millions, hundreds of thousands of people have gone down the same road you've gone down. I don't care what road it is. Right? Learn from them where that road goes. And if it's a good road, go there. If it's a bad road, don't go there. Right? Again, it's not a big surprise if I take drugs, that it's going to hurt me. You're unique.
Surprise.
You're unique, but drugs hurt you, right?
Yeah.
You're unique, but if you smoke enough pot, you're not going to be thinking very well, right? You're unique, but if you look at a lot of pornography, you're going to screw up your relationship with women. You're unique, but if you drive 80 miles an hour in the dark on the wrong side of the freeway, you're going to get in a wreck. So the unique thing is an excuse often for a lot of bad behavior.
That's a big one. And also in the same way, in our time in ministry, I feel like I realize this more and more, is that when you're young, you're scared to kind of bring up your battle or this thing that you struggle with because you feel like you're unique. And then now, it's almost like I talk about things like it's too normal. You know what I mean? Like, so who here is struggling with pornography right now? Just tell me, because I know it's happening. Yeah. But then I'm like, oh wait, I should probably have a little more tact and respect and compassion about it. Yeah. But really, in reality, everyone is going through a lot of the same issues, a lot of the same struggles, and men especially, I should say, but like men have a lot of the same struggles. A lot of the struggles being, not having the right friend group or being tempted by your friends to act a certain way. Another one being pornography and lust and seeing women, objectifying women the wrong way. Another being disconnected or workaholic or, involved in your own little world and not connected to the right things. But I feel like the more that you bring those to the surface and even just normalize the conversation around it, the easier it gets to face those battles.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why we need each other, so we can be together and talk about those things. Right? that's it. That's a huge part of it.
And not be scared about it.
And be scared about it, but who cares? Talk about it anyways.
Right.
Right? Because you're going to be scared.
Simple.
No, it is true. And I know your dad has said this before, Jeremy, but one thing that is true, when you get super old, like me and your dad,
super old.
You just don't care as much about those things.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in high school, everything mattered what everybody thought about me, right? Absolutely everything. And, you just begin to understand that stuff's really not all that important as you get older. Now, you guys get a little older. I mean, you're 18 now, Jeremy?
Just turned 18.
You should have seen him a couple of weeks ago. He looked like he was 18.
He just started shaving.
I looked 12, man. It was bad.
12.
Yeah.
Never again.
No, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I had two more I for sure wanted to ask before we
go
wrap
for
up.
Cool.
Let's see here. So I think you may have alluded to this one, but I still want to ask it. What would you say is the hardest lesson you've had to learn throughout your life?
Yeah, and I have alluded to it. Hardest lesson is face hard things and deal with them. And one thing I've learned is that fear, and I don't know where it comes from, but it's there. Not as much as it used to be, but it's still there. Just the fear of doing something. and it's also a panicky fear. It's just, I can't do this. Well, A, you can. And B, when I've done them, usually because I had to, because of the job situation, I have to do this. I can't avoid it anymore, right? It's never, ever as bad as the fear. Ever, 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 ever.
That's a really good point.
Ever.
Yeah.
So do those things. A, you can do them. And B, it's never as bad. And when you do it, it's always a better situation. There's a phrase, it's a famous phrase, but if you have to eat a live frog, do it first thing in the morning. So if you got a hard thing to do, just do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just sits there and sits there and sits there and sits there. So those kind of things, dealing with hard stuff and just doing them, is a good thing.
This one, I'm actually really excited and curious to hear your answers, but I want to know, what are some of your favorite books that you'd recommend? I feel like you're just like a wealth of knowledge. So
wait, hold on. Dan, have you heard of our favorites page? Our cultivateandkeep.com/favorites.
No.
Okay. So we're putting together this library kind of page where you can click on a category and then it'll show
books, podcasts,
it'll show
apps.
all of our favorite resources
Excellent.
for that category. So we have books, apps, websites, podcasts. So you already mentioned like 3 of them, and I need to get them from your notes.
Yeah, I'll get in there.
But just have that in mind.
And you curate that, correct?
Yeah.
Because people put all sorts of stupid things
No,
up there.
we hand select.
Yeah.
You can trust it.
My favorite movie is,
No Disney movies on there.
right, exactly.
Well, after tonight.
Favorite books. Now, first thing is read. Dang it, read, people. And, it's. I know you've heard it before, and you're rolling your eyes. Not you guys, but listeners. Scientific studies. I mean, every study shows reading is extremely good for you, way better than watching. So read, but it's so hard. Just start doing it. Okay, pick stuff you like, and then from there go on to stuff you don't like that is really good for you. Books. C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity is the absolute seminal book of my life. C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity.
Taking notes.
Why that one?
Why? Because it's the first time I read it, and it's a hard read, but for the first time in my life, I realized that Christianity was true on a rational, logical point of view. Just then, I believe, instead of just I believe it because I think it's right. It was totally changed my worldview.
And you read it after you became after you really, really, really got saved.
Yeah, I was probably about 22 when I first read that one. Fun stuff. The Lord of the Rings books are great. Love the Lord of the Rings books. I've read them. I've read them well over a dozen times, and at least three times out loud to people.
Wow.
Okay. I talked earlier about the DNA of relationships and the Boundaries book. Those are great, great, great relational books. I love history. I've read hundreds and hundreds of books on World War II history, and any historical work by Stephen Ambrose is fabulous. The author's name is Stephen Ambrose. Great stuff. Right.
What is it about him?
The way he writes and the personal stories he puts into it. So he interviews real people, and they're just so good. Right now I'm reading an interesting book. I'm going to have to preface this, otherwise I'll get in trouble. It's written by a black author named Thomas Sowell, who's a living author right now. He's an economist at I forget where, but the title of the book is called Black Rednecks and White Liberals.
Interesting.
And it's a fascinating series of 6 essays on history and the history of black people in America, and It's just amazing stuff. So I read. I usually have about 6 or 7 books on my bookshelf. I mean, on my coffee table on my bed, and I'm reading them all at the same time.
That's so cool.
And I have a bunch that I still gonna get to. I'm really interested in one called Same Sex Mirage, by about homosexuality by Douglas Wilson. That is sitting there on my shelf, and I keep on looking at it. I just got for a Christmas present.
Just got for Christmas
last Christmas.
It's November, Dan.
Last Christmas.
That's how you know you're old.
That it's sitting there on my shelf. I'm waiting to read it. It's a 4-volume work on by 4 famous Sun Tzu, The Art of War.
Oh yeah.
Clausewitz, a famous German guy on war, and there's 4 famous authors on war. And I thought, what are my favorite books? It's like asking, what is your favorite food? There's just so much good stuff out there. Be a reader.
So I have a question on that. And I know you make things so simple, so try to be a little more tactful in this one. But so for me, I think really developed like a love to want to learn and read probably really after college. I think up until that point in my life, like anytime I had that was free, it was spent towards like my studies for school. So once that was over, I was like, yes, I can finally just read for pleasure. So I like it, but I'm thinking for like specifically in my high school small group, the boys I lead, and they're freshmen. So I'm trying to get them to like learn and just want to have a desire to learn and to read and to study, and they just don't care.
Yeah.
So what would you say? How could I entice someone, specifically a younger
to read,
high school boy, to read and want to learn? And again, be tactful because you're so just read, But what would you say? Like, how could we?
I don't know. I tell my high school kids and they're seniors, this is your homework for the weekend. Read these 40 pages in this book, and I know you won't unless I give you a test on Tuesday. So I'm testing you on Tuesday on the homework, just like I told you guys, I'm sure, in high school, because you wouldn't read it.
No Cliff Notes, baby.
You simply wouldn't read it unless you're gonna be tested on it. You just wouldn't. So that's a really good question. What do you do to make a 13-year-old want to read? This is kind of weird, but and you couldn't do it in a small group setting. But read to them, read out loud to them, and they start catching it. They start saying, and read what? It wouldn't be nonfiction stuff because that's just boring. If you're not a reader, it's like, oh, this is stupid, right?
Yeah.
Find something they like and read it out loud. I remember when I was in elementary school, teachers reading out loud in class, and that was kind of nice. Because of course, my parents, smart parents, did not get a TV in the house. They have one now, but all the way through. So what do? You go out in the hills, you throw rocks at cars, and you read. Okay.
Throw rocks at cars. There you go. We're not endorsing that part.
Throws
of the
that
experience.
There's a story there, but I don't want to get into it. I've read just tons. How do you get a kid to love reading? That's a hard one.
I feel like I don't know if you can.
Well, I think he had a good point. I didn't really think through was. We were in that spot too. When I was that age, I didn't, and now I love to read, but at that point in my life, I didn't want to. So I think just realizing, I think part of it is just age, maturity.
Yeah, part of it is fun. A lot of the reading they give kids are given, or high school kids are classical stuff that isn't necessarily fun. It's you should know this, and so you struggle through it and don't know it because you don't care. So probably start off with some fun stuff. And I don't know how they work in a small group where you're trying to teach them things. How do you make it fun? And it turns out, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you give them, you find 1-page essays that are on something and say, give them a quiz next week. And if you get a 5-point quiz, you get 4 out of the 5 points, I'll give you $1. Whatever. I don't know. I don't know for sure.
Yeah. I feel like too, like I'm thinking about how do you cultivate the habit of reading your Bible. And something we've been talking about is just read a verse and just study the verse, meditate the verse, go into the meaning of the verse. You can go to the concordance, but start small, and maybe the same kind of principle applies to reading, where read something fun, make it as easy as possible. Read something short, where it's not like the whole encyclopedia, but you're reading something that's like a blog post length, or 5 minutes worth or 10 minutes worth, or something where you can get started.
Yeah, and the Bible's tough because the Bible's not easy reading. Right. So if I was going to have a kid really get into it, some kind of devotional stuff, I'd probably have him get an audio Bible.
Which you've been into recently, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so on our favorites page, cultivatingcute.com/favorites, you can go to apps, and there's this app that was just on Kickstarter a couple of months ago called Dwell. And you should look it up too, because they have a free version. I pay for the paid version, but they have plans, or you can just go through like the whole Bible and just pick verses. And it's like a Jim Deyling kind of voice, so you can select between different voices with this nice.
Can you get a British girl reading for you?
I don't know. There is
I'd want to read the Bible more if I heard that.
There's a woman, I don't know if she's British. But then there's like music behind it, and they score it, and it's all timed and produced well. But that's been something that I've been doing because I want to do more meditating on the Bible, not necessarily like I'm just kind of reading and checking the box of like I read, but like I want to like kind of because I'm really into podcasts too. One of the things that I've learned is I really like listening because then I can do other things while I'm doing it.
Yes, magic. You remember back when I was a kid, they didn't have podcasts. Yeah, you had to stop and do something to if you wanted to hear something, you had to stop and do something. If you couldn't take your record player with you, right?
Yeah.
Podcasts and phones are just magic in terms of it opens up the entire world to new things.
Yeah,
it's great.
So I mean, it sounds dumb, but like I've been taking my dog on a walk during the morning, and then I put my earphones in and I turn on Dwell, and I listen to the Bible for 15-30 minutes, but I just meditate on it, and that's kind of how I'm like I'm trying to really cultivate that habit of like I'm not just gonna read and like kind of go through the words, but I'm gonna absorb this. I'm gonna make it a part of who I am and my thoughts, and I think that's really good.
You know what Yoda says?
Yoda says, we don't know.
I'm going to butcher it a little bit. There says, do or do not, there is no try.
Yes, I think that's how it goes.
So don't try to do it, just do it.
Yes, you're right.
Or don't.
I'm doing it.
Okay, cool. Excellent.
I'm trying my best to do it consistently.
That great theologian Yoda.
Yeah, we love that guy. One of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, you want to wrap it up, or do you want to ask any more?
Man, I mean, is there anything else you have on your mind, Dan?
God is good and He's for you, all the time.
All the time. Do you have a favorite?
That's a good foundational principle for life.
Yeah,
no matter what happens, God is good and He's for you.
Do you have a favorite verse?
I do.
What is it?
I got two favorite verses. One is, and they're both out of Jeremiah, which is interesting. One is Jeremiah 2:13, and it says, God is speaking to His people, and He says, I have two things against my people. They have left me the fountain of living water, and have hewn out for themselves cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water. And the principle there just grabs me that there is actually a fountain of living water. And for me, based on the designs God put in me, the talents God put in me, and I run with them and run towards God, and I get life. Or that thing that always drags me to do my own thing, do something like, and it's like making a container to hold water, life, but it's broken. It can't possibly do it. And that first helped me with all those natural, the sparkly attractions of sin. They're broken and they can't hold any life. So that helps me, that verse there. Then the other one, also to Jeremiah, is Jeremiah 9:22 and 23, I think. And it says, let not the mighty man boast in his might. Let not the wise man boast in his wisdom. Let not the rich man boast in his riches. But let him who boasts boast in this, that he knows and understands me, that I am the loving God who exercises loving kindness upon the earth. For in these things I delight, says the Lord. And that's the cool. If I'm going to boast, I'm going to boast that God, great God. He's a good God. He loves me, and He's everything, as opposed to the things I have.
Yeah.
So those are just two of my favorite verses. Love them.
I love that.
Yeah.
Why is it interesting that they're both in Jeremiah?
Because who has favorite verses out of an Old Testament prophet?
That's true.
I mean, it's Philippians 4:13.
But
I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength.
Yeah.
Or John 3:16. Which is a great verse, by the way.
Yeah. No, I get it though. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah, say we wrap it up.
I think this has been one of the favorites for sure.
Cool.
Definitely. It's been an absolute pleasure, Dan.
I think we might have you back.
It was all the whiskey you gave me beforehand that helped.
There's no whiskey.
Maybe
Drunk in the Holy Spirit.
next time.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Wait, before we go, I just have to comment on Corey's socks.
Corey always comes.
Those
through
are
with the
interesting socks. They're black socks with green and red and pink and blue and maybe purple.
Yeah, that's green. Yeah,
lined up ovals all over them.
Yeah.
If you can visualize that, interesting. Where did you get those socks?
I don't know. All over the place. I have lots of socks.
Are yours have a sock fetish?
No, I don't know if I classify it as a fetish.
Yeah.
Ooh, my little socks. No, I just have a collection.
Huh.
I tend to keep it really simple. My outfits, I pretty much wear the same thing every day. I just switch out my shirt, but I have like 3 pairs of pants that I wear, 1 pair of shoe really that I wear,
2 pairs of underwear.
No, I have lots of underwear
That he doesn't wear.
I don't wear. So I feel like socks are kind of like my one thing that I could switch up every day and just make it wild and crazy. And
I appreciate that.
Totally abnormal from the rest of my outfit.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's big time.
Yeah. My ones yesterday were checkered, and they were black, pink, and lime checkers all over the place.
I'm sure that tied in nice with your outfit.
Totally not. It was. I was wearing this.
This is another thing that's changed in the world. When I was your age, your socks actually had to match your clothes, and now it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
At all, if your socks match. I mean, it's almost kind of cool if they don't.
It is cool.
It is
just
cool
weird.
if they don't.
Just weird. The world's weird. It changes and all sorts of weird.
I haven't got that extreme, but at least they match each of my feet. I wear the same socks for.
That's
for 2
good.
feet.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm proud of you.
So I'm not that out there. Cool. Well, thanks again, Dan.
My pleasure. It's fun doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Jeremy?
Take us home, Corey.
No, you take us home.
Yeah?
I insist.
Cool. Every time, man. All right, well, thanks for listening, guys. If you liked what you heard, please go ahead and give us a 6-star review.
I figured
nothing less, nothing more. 6 stars only.
We had this thing. There's no 5-star reviews. There's 6-star reviews.
6 stars, baby.
I figured out how to give a 6-star review.
Explain it to.
So you go to the reviews, which you can find in iTunes in your app when you listen to this podcast. Obviously,
go ahead, Dan. You can start the process.
Yeah, you can go through that process if you want.
I will.
And then you click the 5 stars, all 5 stars, and then the comments you put another emoji star, and that's 6 stars.
Interesting.
So if you're listening, give us 6 stars. Put the 5 stars and the 1 emoji star.
Real men don't do emojis.
Are we asking too hard?
Oh, Dan. I'm going to have to debate you there.
Anyway, give us a 6-star review. If you have any questions, you can email us at cultivateandkeep.com. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Am I missing any?
Email. You can sign up for the emails.
Yep.
Find us everywhere.
Cool. Other than that, see you next time.
Deuces.